Welcome to another episode of UCRD Reviews. So today I have a very intriguing P. Bandai release that is not only a very obscure design, but hopefully a figure that will kickstart the 0080 version anime line yet again, since there's several figures that we have not seen yet in that line. Now this one is the RX-78NT-1 Gundam NT-1 Prototype version anime. And you would think that prototype would mean it's a different mobile suit, maybe similar to the NT-1 but slightly different. But this is the same exact mobile suit, but in its rollout colors. So very similar to the Gundam's original rollout colors, which were red and white. The NT-1 shares those same properties, and that's what we have here. This design is obscure because it appeared in the 1989 issue 61 of Model Graphix, and was basically just a line art with a small description. And Bandai never really did anything with the NT-1 prototype design in terms of media. So we actually have never had this as a figure either. So this is a pretty monumental release here for a familiar design. You know, the NT-1 is a very popular Gundam in UC, and to see something new from it that isn't really new, it's from 1989, is very interesting. So I was really excited when they announced this one, and like I said, I'm hoping that this will mean the return of the 0080 line. So let's check this one out. Right, so let's check out the Prototype NT-1. So obviously the big difference here is the color change. You know, instead of being blue and white, this one is red and white. Otherwise, this is the exact same Alex figure that we've got in the past. We'll go over articulation just because it's been a while. So head will go down about that far, and it'll go up a little bit, not much, and it'll do a full 360. The head is the newer head that came with the full armor equipment Alex, the most recent release. You have the 60mm Vulcans sculpted in there, and you have the markings on either side of the head. I like these red lines on the face as well. So very neat looking. In the chest, it'll come down about that far. It won't come up very much, and it'll do a full 360. There is a bit of chest flex, which is nice. You have the beam saber recharge racks up there. You have two thrusters here, two effect part compatible thrusters here that do not move. You have some markings back there. You have ball jointed rear skirt armor with some markings on it as well. Some thrusters here. We have ball jointed skirt armor here that pops right off. Doesn't move around a whole lot, and the thruster here is not painted, very much like the original Alex figure. Same with these thrusters here. And then the front skirt armor will move out of the way as well. You have these rotating hip joints, and the legs will come out about that far, and they'll come up about that far, which is quite a bit. You have good knee articulation range, and down here at the feet, they'll come down about that far, up with toe articulation, quite a bit, and you'll get a decent side to side out of it. The paint in the legs is real nice. There is no real thigh swivel to the legs either, so I think this looks really good up here in these thruster vents. So down here it looks good. You have effect part compatibility in the feet for the thrusters. This is your stand piece. And moving back over to the chest, you have these shoulder joints that'll allow the arms to go up quite a bit. They'll of course rotate all the way around. There is a rotating joint up in here. Oops, that'll rotate all the way around 360. You have a rotating joint in the elbow. You have elbow articulation, which is very well done. And you have a hinge joint in the wrists, and then a ball joint connecting the hands. The Gatling gun pods are removable, and let me put this thing back on there. There we go. And you actually have this little painted camera in the arms in both sides, which is pretty cool. So the paint applications are really nice on this. This is what I expect from a P Bandai. I mean, this figure looks really good. It looks like the line art. You know, everything is done very, very well. So, I mean, there are a few thrusters, like I pointed out, that are unpainted, which is very similar to the other Alex figure, but this looks way better. I really like this. So, plus it's already pre-yellowed for you, so you don't have to worry about sun damage. I'm kidding, of course, but it is kind of a yellow-white color, which is intentional, and then it has the red all over it as well. So it looks accurate. So let's go ahead and check out what this comes with. So for all the accessories, nothing here that you're going to see is new. This is all stuff that came with the previous Alex figures. You have the beam saber hands, beam rifle hands, and 2 sets of opposing hands on a hand rack. Hands look nice, you know, they're painted red and white as they're supposed to be. We have the beam saber blades and the beam saber handles, just like the previous release, except now we have this little red paint mark on them, and they fit in just fine. So we have 2 blades and 2 handles. Go ahead and get those out of there. Not the easiest thing to remove. There we go. We have the beam rifle for the Gundam Alex, which is effect part compatible. Oddly enough, this rifle is actually based on a real-world gun called the FAMAS from France, and the FAMAS was a bullpup rifle, and this version designed for the Gundam Alex was unbullpupped, and so the magazine was put up here. Nothing is removable. It's all one single static piece. We do have the shield, again identical to the Gundam Alex's shield, except it's painted different. And you have the handle for the shield, as well as an arm connection. So, same difference. Then we have the Hyper Bazooka, which is pretty cool looking. You have the camera painted there. It is effect part compatible. This moves in the back, as well as this piece, or the handle in the front. Very nice looking. And we have the bazooka storage piece. I just can't remove anything out of here. There we go. You have the bazooka storage piece, which fits onto the rear skirt armor of the Alex. We have the Gatling guns, which is the only firing weapon that the Alex used in the anime, aside from the head Vulcans. And so with these, you would remove this armor piece. There's this little white piece down here that you would take off. The Gatling gun will be placed on the arm, and then this will just go over it. They are effect part compatible as well, which is pretty nice. And lastly here, we have the Chobham armor in various pieces. This is the chest armor, and we have armor for both of the arms, which is very nice. The front skirt armor with the little thruster painted in there, and the rest of the front skirt armor. Oh, lost one. There's nothing going on for paint in there. We have the back armor, both pieces of shoulder armor with the marking on there. The rear skirt armor with thrusters that are effect part compatible. Pretty cool. And the leg armor, complete with markings, as well as this little flap section for effect parts. And then lastly here we get 2 generic effect parts. We have one slashing beam saber effect and a beam rifle effect. Now the full armor equipment Alex comes with some more effect parts that are more anime specific, and although it would have been cool to get those, I can see why it was omitted. So let's get to the fun part here and compare the 2 figures. Alright, so we have both figures here, and immediately you can probably tell that all the red accent markings on the Prototype NT1 make a big difference in making it seem more well painted. So you can see there's a bit more markings on this one. There's a marking here. The one on the shoulder is absent, but it retains this marking on the other shoulder, and this one actually looks a lot better. You have the markings on the head still there. I did leave the original head on here so you can see the difference in the head sculpts. This is the full armor equipment version of the Alex, which is identical to the original release, except it comes with a different head, which is this version. The legs are very similar. You can see the thruster part on the side of the legs is very different in terms of how it's painted, but otherwise looks pretty much the same. The insides of the legs, you can see on the Alex is just plain, whereas this one is red with white for the inside parts. And we're going to move all the way around here. Oh, almost lost a shield. There we go. Speaking of shields, there they are. They're pretty much identical. Around the back here, the marking, the unit marking, so we have the 3 unit marking here with the 4 on the Gundam Alex, and it's reversed. You still have UNT Spacey, and you have RX-78NT instead of NT-1 over here, which is interesting. Back of the legs, again, very similar. Feet, pretty much the same. So, just really interesting how everything worked out. Again, we have the RX-78NT-1 here, and you have NT on this side. So, I really like that attention to detail. So, 2 very cool figures. And now let's see them with their armor on. So here we have both figures with their Chobham armor. I will say that the armor components that come with these figures are, to me, the easiest to put on and the most straightforward armor components that we've seen in version anime. It's very quick to put all the armor on and to take off. If you want to see that process, check out the review links below for the Gundam Alex full armor equipment. I also have the original Alex review down there if you want to check that one out too. And you can see the weapons and more detail and stuff. But here we have both of them. There is a slight color change with the Prototype NT-1 where the armor is a little bit darker, just slightly. You'll see there's a 3 instead of a 4 up here on the shoulder. It says NT-1 over here, where this one just says NT, very similar to the other pieces of the figure. And there's a 3 instead of a 4 on the back. And otherwise, they are the same. So the Prototype NT-1 ended up costing me $68.32 for the pre-order before shipping. It is essentially the Gundam Alex figure with a different color scheme and with a lot of really nice markings on it. And for $68, for being such an obscure design that it's based off of, I think it's absolutely worth it. It comes with a lot of great accessories, pretty much everything it needs, aside from a replacement antenna. That would have been nice. An effect part for the Gatling guns also would have been nice too. But other than that, everything else seemed pretty good. The effect parts were a bit generic. It did omit the anime-specific effect parts out of the full armor set, which makes sense. But it would have been nice to get, like I said, at least, you know, the firing effects for these. I think that would have been, it would have made sense. Other than that, you know, for the price point, even being a P Bandai, it's kind of on the lower end of the price, and I think it's a pretty solid figure and something worth picking up if the design intrigues you. Now, most importantly here, what I'm hoping is that this kickstarts the idea of making the gun cannon mass production type and the Zagak E and all those other 0080 figures that we haven't seen yet. I never thought we would get this before those, but here we are. So comment down below what you think about this figure if you picked it up. And as always, thank you for watching my reviews, and I'll see you next time.